Good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is audible. Okay. So, good afternoon to everyone. And my name is Shanawaz, and I'm a corporate trainer at Fintu. And I welcome you all to another webinar hosted and presented to you by Fintu. And to introduce Fintu, we are a fee-based wealth advisory firm based out in Mumbai. We cater to end-to-end financial services of our clients, whether it be the financial planning, tax planning, retirement planning, money management, or estate planning. We have catered to over 1 lakh plus clients, not only in India, but also abroad. And today's webinar is all about how you can plan your finances or how you can be financially prepared in case you are being laid off from your company. And just to tell you, COVID has already taught us how to be financially prepared and be financially strong if some atrocities happen to us. In a similar way, you might have heard in the news or read in the news that major of the companies, not only in India but also abroad, are laying off their employees on a mass level. So, what if such thing happens to you? So, only for that, our expert will tell you how you can be financially prepared if such things happens to you. And this is not only limited to that you lose your job and face some financial difficulty. It is help you to be prepared financially from any problem if you face in the future. And to introduce our expert for the day, Ms. Nidhi Manchanda. And to introduce herself, she's a certified financial planner with a decade of experience in coaching, teaching, training, and mentoring working professionals with their financial planning, tax planning, and money management. So, over to you, Nidhi.
Thank you, Nawaz. And a very good afternoon, everyone, for coming in this session, attending the same. I'm sure that everyone would want to know how you can be prepared in such a situation where we are talking about, layoffs are happening. So we'll discuss about all that. And definitely, if you have any questions or queries, you can let us know in this. One or two people are saying that they cannot hear. I guess, Nawaz, you can confirm. You can hear, right? It's audible?
So, from the audience, if you're not able to hear what our expert is saying, you can just type in yes or no, and we'll check if the problem is from our side or from your side. Because I can hear it. Okay. Okay. Anidhi, audio is fine from everyone's side. You can start.
Others can hear it. Just give me a minute. I'll just share the screen. Yeah, is it visible? Okay, I guess, yeah, it's visible, right? Okay, thank you so much for the confirmation. So let's start with the session. And as you can see from the title of this session, we'll be talking about how you can be well prepared in case some unfortunate incidents happens with you, that is layoff. And as we are hearing about layoffs a lot lately, so we'll discuss on that. And starting this discussion, I think we should first talk about what is happening globally. If we talk about a global outlook perspective, starting from the year 2020 itself, we have seen that the economy is suffering first through because of the COVID economy slowed down, and then the moment it started recovering a bit, then Russia Ukraine war happened, and again we are facing the certain economic downturns in terms of higher inflation and tightening monetary policy by most of the central banks. So this is what is happening globally, and this is basically slowing down the economic growth in all the world major economies. And if you talk about some estimations in 2021, the world GDP growth was around 6%, which for this year, the forecast has been slowed down to around 3.2%. And in the next year, 2023, the IMF has given a forecast that it will be around 2.7%. So half of what was there earlier. So definitely we can say that the economic growth is slowing down. In other words, we can say, it's something like, winter is coming and we should be well prepared for this winter. That is what we need to, pay attention to right now. And talking about recession really coming or not, we can discuss about different economies. Let's if we talk about US economy first, let's say the largest economy that we have. The major concern that they are facing right now is inflation, like most of the other economies as well. And here the inflation has crossed 8% at one point of time, and currently also it is very high, close to 7 to 8% in between there. So very high inflation, and we have seen that Fed has been very hawkish in terms of tightening the monetary policy. And every time we are hearing a 75 bps points hike in their rates. So that is basically to control the inflation. And usually what happens is when a central bank is trying to control the inflation by having a very hawkish stance on increasing the rates, it somewhere it affects the economic growth as well, and that is what we are experiencing right now. Same thing is happening with the UK. They are already, technically we can say they are into recession, and it's estimated that it will stay there for around 2 years time, long term. They are planning to raise taxes, and also some points are being taken care of there. We all are aware of China as well. Their zero COVID policy, it's again affecting the economies worldwide. Now again, if you talk about all these things, it actually is leading to layoffs as well, specifically in technology sector. So in tech, if we talk about the chart that you can see right now, starting from Jan month itself, it shows a number of companies which are actually laying off their employees and handing over them the pink slip. So here we can see from Jan, like 4, 6, 10, and recently in the month of from since June, July, 110, 104 companies has been laying off the employees in this sector. Apart from this, here the major names that we have heard is, you can say, we can talk about Twitter, or Google, or Amazon, Microsoft, Meta. So these are the companies which are actually laying off. And currently, not just the technology sector, we have also heard that Citibank, or there are news on that, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, they are also cutting off their workforce, and around 2% cut. Morgan Stanley recently announced that 2% workforce they are reducing. So definitely this is something which is very alarming, and for a person who gets a news that the job, the regular source of income that is there, if that's not there the next day, it becomes very difficult to cope and also to understand how you are actually managing your finances after that. And that is what we'll be discussing in today's session. Now, coming to India, now we have talked about, globally this thing is happening. What about India? So recently, just yesterday, there was an RBI MPC policy announcement was there by our governor. And what was the major key highlights there was that the repo rate was increased by 35 basis points. So in India also the same thing is there, although India has not been adversely affected as the other economies, but still our inflation tolerance band is up to upper tolerance band is around 6%, and which we are higher. We are currently higher than that. So our October numbers were around 6.7% was the inflation, and the current projection for this year is around 6.7% for the entire year. So definitely that is the reason we are also aggressively increasing the interest rates. But looking at how it will also affect the economic growth, it's very important that there has to be some moderation in terms of rate hikes, and that is what we had witnessed yesterday in the meet. And this was the major announcement. So it was not very hawkish, I would say, but again it was also important that the rate hike will be there so that inflation is under control, because the battle against inflation is still not over, because we are still above the upper tolerance band that RBI has set in. GDP forecast, if we talk about, then the RBI has actually reduced the forecast from 7% to 6.8%. So looking at these numbers, if we are seeing that the growth will be slowed down in future, then definitely there has to be some moderation in the rate hikes. And that is what was announced yesterday. Another thing was Indian rupee appreciated 3.2%, even as major currencies depreciated. So what I want to convey here is that how the global economies are doing and tackling the problem of inflation. India is also in the similar lines, although it's in a better position, but higher inflation problems and everything, India is also facing the same. Talking about layoffs as well, in India as well, we have seen layoffs starting from Jan Feb this year, and it's majorly in the tech companies, which we can say an academy, Vedantu, even Vedantu. Yesterday only news came for layoffs again. So M Fine, Topper, White Hat Junior, we have Byju's, Udan, so Ola. These are the companies which are actually laying off the employees. So we can actually say somewhere we need to be very cautious of this, and there are certain things that you need to keep in mind so that you are well prepared in case something like this happens with you as well. So we should not be waiting for something happening and then looking out for help and asking what we can do and what are the options that we have. Rather than that, if we start planning for it for now, we try to make our finances more stronger right now, then it will definitely help us in future. If something uncertain or any uncalled for situation comes, we are well prepared for it. So that is something which is important. Talking about like I already mentioned, that we are in a better position still. If we talk about some of the major reports, if there's we see the probability of recession. So sometime back a report came where it says that India has a 0 probability of going into recession. So we can definitely say that India actually will be, will not go into recession maybe, but the growth prospects would be a lower compared to what we had experienced in the year 2021. So 2022 economic growth has slowed down, and even in the year 2023, it's expected that again the economic growth will not be as high. So it will be moderated only. So for that, if we see some of the reports and the estimates that they have shared, if you can see it on your screen right now, the World Bank, they have estimated 6.9% GDP growth for India, which were earlier they had expected around 6.5%. So they have increased that a bit. For IMF, they have said 6.8% is estimated projection for GDP growth in India in the year 2022. And in the year 2023, they are expecting it to be 6.1%. RBI, like I just mentioned yesterday, it was announced that they are lowering the GDP forecast by 6.8%. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development also has an estimate of around 6.6%. And Moody's also cut India's GDP growth projection for 2022. Earlier they were saying around 7.7%, but now they have removed that stance, and now they are saying 7% is what they are expecting here. Also, as per their report, they assume that there's not much probability of Asian economies to actually go into recession, but definitely most of the reports and the study shows that based on the forecast that the economic growth will be slowed down, and that is a reason we can see some layoffs happening in the near future, right? So with this, coming to the important thing that what we should do in such uncertain times, it's very important that you have to be well prepared financially for yourself. So it is important. There are certain small guidelines I would like to share, and then we can maybe open the session for questions. So you can ask your questions there, but few of the things that I would like to throw some light on, that these are the things that you should have or should try just move towards your financial journey that way, so that you're making your finances more strong in such uncertain times where we are terming it as winter is coming for all of us. So what should you do? The very and the most important is building an emergency fund for yourself. Okay, how many of you would have an emergency fund right now? If you can let me know in the chat, if you already have an emergency fund. But just for the explaining this part, it's really important that when we talk about emergency fund, in case of certain something which is you are not expecting it to happen, you should have certain amount of money set aside, so that you can actually use that corpus in certain case of uncertainty. It's not just the layoffs. In case of any medical emergency also, or any family emergency that comes up that requires you to spend certain amount of money, it's important that you have set aside for those situations. And that is why for this layoff situation as well, if you are working in a sector in maybe in tech or ed tech, where you are expecting something like this to happen in coming future, or maybe a startup company if you are working in, it's really important that you are well prepared by creating an emergency fund for yourself right now. So like few of you are mentioning that you have an emergency fund. Like few of you also mentioning that you do not have health insurance or any emergency fund right now. Medical and family with uncertain situation to handle. Yes, so basically it is really important to have an emergency fund. Now the next important question comes in, that yes, emergency fund is required, but how much we need to keep as an emergency fund? If that is the question, I would say 6 months of your monthly expenses is something which you need to park aside. 6 months of your monthly expenses, this is a good enough time for you to search for another job, or maybe to maybe make certain scenario wherein you can earn some income in this time period. But if you feel that you are working in a sector which is more riskier or prone to more layoffs in certain time, then definitely you can increase this amount. Also increase this amount if you are the only earning member in the family, and all other family members are dependent only on your income, that is the only source of income that your family has, then it's more crucial to have a little higher emergency fund, which can be around 8 months of your monthly expenses. So 8 months of your expenses is what you can keep aside as an emergency fund for yourself. Let me know if you have any questions in this. But like a very frequently asked question, I'll take up that as well right now. That once we know that yes, I need to create an emergency fund for myself, and I also know that 6 months or 8 months of expenses is what I need to take care of. But where should I be investing this money? Where should I be parking this money? So for that, I would say, because we are talking about money which is accessible to you in case of any emergency situation, or in case you would need it at any point of time. It is not for a very long-term investment point of view. So one, consider that this is not something which should give you very high returns. That's not the agenda for parking your money for emergency fund. The main and the most important thing that you should be keeping in mind is, when you're parking your money for emergency fund, it should be parked in liquid assets. So something which you can liquidate easily. You can actually get that money easily. It should not be invested somewhere which has a lock-in period, and when you actually need it, you cannot actually withdraw your money. Or it is invested into a volatile asset class, where it will not be maybe not a right decision to withdraw at any point of time. So park this money into a fixed deposit, giving a little higher returns. Maybe corporate fixed deposits you can invest into, or in mutual funds you can invest into ultra short duration funds. So these are the certain options where you can park your money for emergency. But I'll tell you, this is a very basic and a strong foundation to have when you're planning for your finances. So have an emergency fund in place. Like most of you are saying that you do not have an emergency fund already. So it's really important that you start creating one. I can say that, if you do not have an emergency fund altogether, it will not be an easy task or an immediate thing to actually make it. You will have to, start saving more and more gradually every month from your income, so that in certain months, in few months, you are able to create that much of corpus for yourself and keep it aside. Another thing, I would like to suggest that this is not a one-time activity. Do not treat it as, you have created an emergency fund and now it's done. Try to refill it if you have, used a part of it already. So let's say if you have X amount you have withdrawn from your emergency fund for some emergencies, of course, then it's on your part that you actually refill it again. So, and make sure that you at any point of time you have that much of emergency fund with you, which is equivalent to 6 months of your expenses. And not just this, from year on year basis, based on how your expenses are, changing, or income is changing, you should also be modifying the amount in emergency fund to suit your, lifestyle at that point of time. So it's really important that you do this. I hope this one is clear. This is basic. The first thing that you need to do to prepare yourself from any potential layoff coming in future is to have an emergency fund right now. Now, once I talk about having an emergency fund, we come to a point wherein it's like I mentioned that it is really important that you also start saving for it on a month-to-month basis, and you start creating it early. For this, it's really crucial that you create a budget for yourself. And I would say, like, currently the time is not such that you overspend on certain things or you overspend on luxuries or your wants. So in that way, this is not the right time to do it, and you will not be able to increase your savings that way. So try to curb your expenses, reduce your expenses to whatever maximum extent that you can, so that whatever the more savings that you can do, you can actually channelize it towards creating a emergency fund for yourself as well. So make a budget and keep a track on your finances. That is the second important thing that you need to do. So once you create a budget, make sure that you are allocating more towards your mandatory and which the unavoidable expenses that you have, and do not allocate much of your money towards your wishes or wants. Even if you are doing it, keep it very low, or I would suggest now is the time that you make it very negligible for now, and try to increase your savings to as high as even 35, 40, 45% if you can, so that you can channelize it towards better investment revenue as well. Do not try to overspend. Again, keep a watch closely on where you're spending your money. It will definitely help you out in taking control of your finances. Reduce spending on your wants, like I already mentioned. Focus on increasing your savings. Now, ideally, in normal circumstances, I would say 30% of your in-hand income is something which you should be saving. But looking at the current situation, because we are more cautious right now, try to increase this as much as possible, looking at your personal individual expenses. So if you can actually increase it to 35%, please do that. If you can increase it to 40%, then please do that. Try to increase it as much as possible for yourself, because that will help you in future. So today, if you can save more, it is the savings that will help you in future in any uncertain or any unpredictable situation that can come in. You need to be well prepared for a rainy day, right? So do that. And now is not the right time to upgrade your lifestyle. Usually what happens, from time to time, you would also want to upgrade your lifestyle, or maybe whatever things that you're using, you want to just improve your lifestyle on year basis. But I would say take a pause and currently just maintain the lifestyle that you have right now, and make sure your first priority is to create an emergency fund for yourself, which will help you out in future. Upgrading your lifestyle, you need to do it later on, when your finances are really strong and you think that yes, even if I do not have a job right now, I have enough money to sustain for at least 6 to 8 months. If that is a condition where you are right now, then you can maybe think of it. But otherwise, this should be your priority. And do not try to upgrade your lifestyle very frequently and spend more money into upgrading a lifestyle only. So it will definitely hamper the financial journey to meet your long-term financial goals, which will not be a wise decision to do right now, looking at the current situation, right? So this is something which you can avoid. So these are the two things that you need to do. The third important thing is do not take any unnecessary loans. Now, to all the people who are attending the session, if I want to just understand from you all, how many of you have a loan, or, running loan already? Can you just type in a yes or a no in the chat box, saying that yes, I have a loan, or you can also mention no if you do not have any loans right now. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So most of you already have a loan. Okay. One person is saying no. You have a car loan, home loan. I have a loan. Yes. Okay. No loans right now. No. So what I can see from your responses, most of you have a loan, and some of you do not have any loans right now. Now, the important thing here to notice, if you do not have any loan right now, it's very good situation you are in right now. Do not even think of getting into a loan in near future. Now, why we are saying this is, currently, like I'm saying, that we are actually preparing, ourselves from any, unfortunate thing that can happen, in future. But for that, we are creating an emergency fund. We are creating a corpus for a rainy day. But in that case, let's say if you have too many loans in place, then this is something, which you will have to pay. But if you do not have that income, regular income to support that kind of EMIs, then it will be very difficult for you to continue paying your EMIs if you do not have a job or a primary source of income that you have. So keep your loans really low. The ones who do not have any loans, I would suggest for the next year at least, do not plan to take any loans. Avoid using credit cards and roll over that, and any personal loans or anything. It's very easy, sometimes when you are in need of money, getting a loan because become very easy. You can actually approach a bank and get it, but definitely avoid it at current point of time. Now coming to the ones who already have a loan, make sure currently if you are getting a regular source of income, if there are any ways which you can try to prepay your loans, and maybe if you even if you pay one EMI extra every year, it will help you to reduce your interest cost to a greater extent. So try to do that. So do not take up any new loans right now. Now is not the right time to get into new loans. Although yes, interest rates are also rising, they are increasing, it's also making the loans more expensive. But having said that, even if you can afford, you feel that yes, I can afford that EMI and I should be going it is basically currently you can afford, but we are also thinking in future prospects. Will you be able to afford that kind of paying EMI if you do not have the primary source of income? So avoid doing that for right now. So we have a question for loans. Should we avoid using credit cards as well? So Natasha, see, basically what happens is when we talk about loans and credit cards, specifically credit cards like you asked, if you are able to manage your credit within the due dates, you can utilize it. But if you are someone who rolls over the credit and you end up paying huge amount of interest because you're using credit cards, then definitely you should avoid it at all costs. In certain cases, if you are actually not rolling it over and you're paying your due amounts on time, it will help you to build a good CIBIL score as well. So it has an advantage also. But what I'm saying is, if let's say if you have taken some credit and god forbid if something happens and you do not have that primary source of income, then in that case what happens is that that interest that will be levied to you will be huge. So make sure, even if you're that yes, this is my income and this is my expenses, and once you're getting that income, you are paying it off, you're not actually rolling it over for a few months and paying huge interest, then you can continue using it. Otherwise, I would suggest stay away from credit cards, use debit cards only. Okay, so let me know if you have any other question. I'll take it up towards the end of the session also. Yeah. 3 months before opting for a loan, so you can check for affordability. Now, affordability, like I mentioned, don't go overboard with loans. But if I give you some thumb rules to keep in mind, that how much loan you should actually be taking. If you already have it, then also you have a check on that. Again, usually your EMIs should not exceed 40% of your in-hand income. It should be below 40%. But looking at the current scenario, try to keep it below 30%. Below 30% of your in-hand income, only that much should be you should be paying as EMI, not more than that. Now this I'm saying the maximum limit. It should not happen like that. If you do not have a loan, I'm not saying that go and take a loan and up to 30% of your income. If you do not have it, that's the best scenario. But if you already have a loan, try to reduce it to your EMI should not be more than 30% of your in-hand income. So that much you should keep in mind, so that it's easier for you to manage your cash flows in future as well. Make sure you have a required emergency fund. It should not happen that you do not have an emergency fund in place and then you are actually going for loans and paying huge interest costs there. So your first priority should be to have an emergency fund in place. Also check for future income prospects also, and that is why we are having a session like this right now. considering, what kind of a income you'll be having in the next year, it depends, whether you should be taking a loan or not, next coming years. It should not happen that currently you feel that, I have a good amount of income, this much I can, take a loan, I can pay off my EMIs easily. You will take a loan, but later on, if that primary source, like, we're talking about layoffs right now, if you are working in a tech sector that way, so if that job is not there, how would you continue paying huge EMIs? So, that is the reason it's suggested that for now, hold on to that thought of taking any new loans, maybe for a car or maybe for a home or maybe for any personal usage. Just take a pause for right now for at least, 1 or 2 years, and delay, that thing for, later years. Currently, it's not the time to get into more loans and liabilities and debt, and it will not be a good sign on your financial health. So make sure that you stay away from it for now. Okay. Fourth important thing is about health insurance plan. Can you let me know in the chat how many of you have a health insurance plan for now? How many of you have a health insurance? Me. Okay. Yes. 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 Life insurance. Okay, life insurance is fine, but I'm specifically asking for health insurance. Many of you have a health insurance. Medical expenses are, rising, and the cost is, medical expenses, I can actually say this will be more in the lines of, 10% inflation. It's not just the normal inflation, but your health costs are rising at a much higher pace. And that is the reason, it is very important that you should have a health insurance in place. Now, in future, let's say, if a person doesn't have a job in future and also gets hospitalized, so you do not have a salary income that is coming in, and on top of that, the person is hospitalized or any member of the family is hospitalized. Now, where that money will come from? So it's additional burden on you if you do not have an adequate health insurance with you. So it's really important that you have that with yourself, proper health insurance. You must have had a poll, for how much health insurance cover you already have. You can just answer that. Okay, this is, I really want to address this one. So one person is mentioning that I have with company insurance. See, whenever a company is providing you a health insurance plan, it's a great benefit that your company is giving you. But again, we're talking about uncertain times. Let's say you do not have that job in future. So once you do not have that job, you will not also have that health insurance plan, that the benefit that your company is providing you. So you will not have that. So same things, happened in 2020 also, when COVID, came and people lost their jobs. So although they lost their jobs, there was no, income. But on top of that, if they are getting hospitalized also for COVID or any other medical ailment, it's an added burden, that no source of income. On top of that, it's very difficult to manage your monthly day-to-day expenses. On top of that, there are some, hospitalization expenses as well. So it's really, really crucial, I would say, that everyone should have a health insurance plan in place. And not only for yourself, you should have it for all the family members, whoever is dependent on you. You should definitely have a health insurance plan for them to cover, so that in later on, whenever there's an hospitalization, that huge amount of burden, financial burden, doesn't come on your shoulders. So, even if you have insurance with company health insurance plan, make sure that you have a separate one as well. Okay. So here, what I can see from your responses, 42% of you all, okay, do not have a health insurance. 25% are 5 lakhs, 17% of you are saying 5 to 10 lakhs, and 17% of you are saying 10 lakhs and above. So I can say, just 17% of you are saying that you have 10 lakhs and above health insurance. Majority, like 42% is a big number. 42% of you do not have health insurance for yourself right now. Make sure that you get one for yourself. Ideally, you should be having around 10 to 15 lakhs of health insurance cover, looking at the higher medical costs that are there. But again, it depends upon person to person and the family, and also your lifestyle. It depends upon what kind of a treatment you'll be taking, going forward. So if you're someone who's, has a higher upgraded lifestyle and you would be taking premium hospitalization services, then maybe 10 lakhs would not be sufficient for you. But on a, minimal, bare minimum, I'm saying it should not be less than 10 lakhs at least. So 10 to 15 lakhs is something which you should be keeping in mind at all time. You should be having that much of cover. Like I said, not only for yourself, but for your entire family. You can actually go for a top-up cover to enhance your coverage. That is something which we would suggest you. So go for top-up covers. This will be more cost-effective. So let's say if you take a 3 lakh cover and you take a 7 lakh top up on that, a total of 10 lakhs cover, or you take a direct 10 lakhs cover, the premium would be much cost effective in the base plus top up cover there. So you can utilize that. Also, you can utilize if you already have a health insurance, but the the coverage is, let's say, 3 lakhs, 4 lakh, 5 lakhs. So you can take a top up on that, save on the premium cost as well, and utilize it to enhance coverage for future. You can take it in individual and family floater. I hope that you understand that part. Let me know if you have any questions. Health insurance plans will also give you tax benefits. So under section 80D, you get a deduction for health insurance premium that you're paying as well. 25,000 deduction for your family and another 25,000 for your parents. If you or, maybe your parents are senior citizens, then 50,000 is the limit. So tax benefit is something you can also get upon. But I'm not saying that just because of tax benefit you should be having a health insurance, but that is an added advantage. Get a health insurance, you will also get tax benefits along with that. I hope this is clear to everyone till here. These are some of the pointers that you should be keeping in mind. Let's move ahead. Now, the fifth thing, I would like to just, give you this thought that whenever we talk about, such uncertain times, that, if a person loses his job, it's all because you have not diversified your sources of income. Most of the times in investments, we hear this term diversification. You should not be, putting all your eggs in one basket. It's very risky. Same thing applies to your income also. So you should not be dependent only on one source of income, that is your job. So in case something like this happens, you are left with no income at all. So what you should be doing is you should have multiple sources of income. Having said that, it is not very easy to do it on an immediate basis. So there has to be a proper planning that needs to be done, for few years to come to a stage where you have multiple sources of income for yourself. This can be done by way of, let's say, if you build a property and you put it on rent, you start getting any rental income. So what will happen is that, some part of your income is through renters and then one is your job. So even if job is not there, you will not directly come to zero income levels, but you will still have some rentals coming in. Same thing, if you are investing certain amount in fixed income instruments, you can expect some interest income. So you can also expect some capital gains if you are investing into mutual funds or equity for long-term investments, of course. So try to invest your money in such a way that you are actually creating multiple sources of income, and not just investments. Otherwise also, if you can create some multiple sources of income for yourself apart from the one primary source, the job that you have, it will definitely make your finances more stronger. So for now, I would just say this, keep this in mind. So next time when you are you sitting with a financial advisor, you should actually be asking that how I can create multiple sources of income for myself to have my strong base on finances. So this is very, very crucial, specifically in times like this that we are in. It's very crucial that you're not dependent on just one source of income. People who have many, let's say, the families who have 2-3 members who are earning, they are still in a better position than families where only one person is earning and there's only one source of income. So considering your own scenarios, try to diversify your sources of income as well, and take help here from the experts and start creating that thing step by step. You can start that journey right now. right? Now, the last important point that I would like to focus here is about, when you need to redeem your investments. Now, we can very well understand that, let's say, if you are into a situation, get into a situation where you lose your job, you do not have, that primary source of income that you have, the salary income that you're earning. For few, if you have an emergency fund, maybe you'll be able to survive for a few months. But in case not, or that emergency fund is not sufficient, then whatever investments that you have done, maybe in stock market or maybe mutual funds, it's very natural that you will, move towards them and try to liquidate it to meet your, daily requirements of your household expenses. It's very natural to do that. But in case you're already stuck in such a situation, do not blindly redeem from any of the investments that you have, just taking the call on your own. I would suggest that always consult a financial advisor and understand that, which are the investments that you have, what is a portfolio. They will know that, these are some of the underperforming funds or underperforming, stocks, or in the future, there's not much prospect for this particular fund to perform. And which one is underperforming, accordingly, that only you should redeem, which does not have any prospect to grow in future as well. So do not blindly, redeem any of your investments in such a situation. So even if you want to withdraw, always take a help of a financial advisor and discuss it, the requirement that you have, and from where all you can actually redeem if the need arises, and this is the only option left with you. So this is something which you should definitely, keep in mind. Right. So stay invested for a longer period of time, looking at the Sensex or Nifty performance. If we see for the past 22 years, the markets are volatile, but if you, zoom it out and look it from a broader perspective, in the long term horizon, you should definitely be invested for a longer period of time, until unless, some emergency comes up and you need to withdraw your money. And that is the reason, it's suggested that you should have an emergency fund in place, so that you do not dig into your maybe retirement corpus, or maybe, maybe if you're planning for a child's education expenses. So any long-term goal that you're planning for, so that you do not hamper that, it's important that you have an emergency fund in place already. So it's really, really crucial to do that. So to summarize the session here, I would say to safeguard yourself from a potential layoff, create a budget and track your spendings and try to save more, 35-40%. Create an emergency corpus. Do not take unnecessary or too many loans, and stay invested in the market for long term as per your risk profile, and also create a proper asset allocation. Diversify your money across asset classes. This is something which you should do. So with this, I have completed whatever I wanted to say, but yes, I'm open to questions. If you have any questions, any queries for me right now, do let me know. I hope, it has given you some insights or some, agenda step by step. These are the things that you need to do to plan for your finances. In case you need any, personal one-to-one consultation, feel free to get in touch with us. There's a barcode, QR code on the screen, so you can scan it. You can book a free 15 minutes consultation call with one of our finance experts to discuss it on one-on-one. And for questions, I can see one question. Mayur is asking, how do I include my parents' health insurance in mine? Okay, so Mayur, what happens is, I'll tell you, there's a cover, like an individual cover and a family floater cover. If you are like, an adult person, anybody who is 18 years of, above 18 years of age, if you're taking a family floater cover, you will not be able to take it with your parents in most of the cases. You can have a separate health insurance plan for your parents, like, the mother and the father together as a family floater cover. And you being the proposer, you pay the premium and avail the tax benefit of that. So one more question we have. Thanks for the session. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you liked it. How long this recession will last longer in the coming year? See, like I've already explained in the session itself, when we talk about recession, it's more on negative growth rate. So the economy is actually contracting. But like I mentioned, for India prospects, we are based on IMF or World Bank, RBI, all the projections are that India's GDP growth will be somewhere around 6.8% this year. 6.8, 6.9% this year, and next year, will be somewhere around, 6% or so. So it's definitely economy growth is slowing down. But there are, cases where it might not be a recession as such, because, if we go by technical definition of a recession, it's more like negative GDP growth for 2 consecutive quarters, which is something which we are not seeing right now as such. But definitely the growth is slowing down. So whenever, startups, or like we are seeing the layoffs in the companies, when the growth is slowing down, to reduce the cost, this is something, which companies do to, remain profitable for coming years. So for that, it is important for you to, do this. So this situation, so I might say not a recession as such, but the economy is slowing down. It can, be somewhere around, 2 years time period can be there, where it will take time for the economy to recover and be in the same lines, on the same lines which it was there earlier, before all these economic turmoils happened. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments. So Natasha is asking how to increase savings if you are a consultant and have variable income each month. That's a really nice question for freelancers also. And if you are a consultant, if you do not have a fixed income, what you should do is, whenever, say, let's say I'm assuming you are getting your cash inflows in parts, and the amount is not fixed, and maybe the frequency is also not fixed. So whenever you receive something like this, let's say X amount you receive, make sure the 30%, 35% of that X amount you need to set aside for your savings. Now, looking at this is not a regular thing that will be coming, let's say on month-to-month basis, the amount is not fixed. Have a rough estimate of how much will be your income, in the entire year. And a safer way to do it is, whenever you get that income, don't do a very high amount of investment initially into volatile markets directly. You can park it in an ultra short duration fund or something for some time, and in the next month, or in the coming months, when you see regular cash flow is coming, and this is the amount which I can actually invest for a longer period of time. So once you are aware that yes, this is the amount that I would not be needing for my regular expenses, for at least some time, then that amount you can park it for future requirements. And that is the reason, like I mentioned earlier also, make sure that your emergency fund is in place. Now for you, people who are into freelancing consultant, you would need a slightly higher amount of emergency fund, because your income is not regular. So make sure that you do that. Instead of, let's say, 30-35% saving of your whatever cash inflow that you're getting, make sure at least you do 20%. And once 3-4 months have passed, and you already are getting good cash flow, then you lump sum, if you get, then you can actually invest into the market in the form of STPs. So park it in any liquid fund or an ultra short duration fund, and then start an STP from that fund to equity fund, looking at how your cash flow is. This is some one of the strategies that you can use, because your cash flows will not be fixed on a month-to-month basis. Let me know if you have any more questions. How often you are conducting the program? So I guess you are asking about these kinds of sessions. So see, if you are following us on social media channels, very frequently we do this. So whenever we are coming up with the next one, definitely you will get to know there. So you can definitely enroll for all our sessions here to understand, about the economy, investments, and everything. Do we have any more questions, Nawaz?
Yes, we have a question. So Natasha is asking, when transferring using STP, won't be paying STCG tax on it?
Yes. See, when you're doing STP, is basically, like you rightly mentioned, you'll be parking your money into, let's say I'm saying a debt fund, like a liquid or ultra short duration fund. Whenever a transfer happens from a debt fund to an equity fund, it will be treated as a redemption from the debt fund. And if it is within 3 years, your short-term capital gain tax will be there. See, but when we talk about withdrawing and then investing, whatever gain amount that you're getting, on that you'll have to pay short-term capital gain tax. So taxation part is there. It is there. on STPs. But again, because if you have, because it's not a fixed amount of income that you're having, when we compare the two scenarios, now why I'm saying investing it here and then transferring, the second scenario would be you will just keep that amount in your saving bank account. So if you just keep it in your saving bank account, the interests are very low, you are negligible, you're not getting anything. And saving interest is also taxable. So it's not tax-free as such. So money remaining in your bank account, earning very, meager interest, that will also be taxable in your hands. So at least, if you shift it to ultra short duration funds earning a little better, and on each transfer, then you will have to, whenever you're withdrawing, then you will have to pay tax on it accordingly. It will be a better scenario as compared to keeping it in your saving bank account.
So there's one more question where the participant is asking, what are some options or funds where they can park their emergency corpus?
Sorry, come again.
Okay, so the participant wants to know what are the options where they can park their funds for emergency corpus.
So you can actually park it, like I mentioned, you can park it in fixed deposit. Currently, the fixed, because of the rising interest rates, fixed deposits will be offering, good returns. Although it takes time, once the announcement is there to hike interest rates, bank offering that rate will take some time. But in, coming times, yes, your bank FDs will also be giving you decent returns. But apart from that, I would say again, in emergency fund also do not park it, everything at one go in one particular investment. So you need to have some amount which is, readily available to you, so that you can park it in fixed deposit. The some amount you can actually park it in ultra short duration funds as well. And something can be there, say in flexi fixed deposit as well, where you can actually, withdraw through ATMs as well. So, you can have 2-3 combinations where you can park your money accordingly. Thank you so much, Natasha. I'm glad that you find the webinar useful. Thank you so much for your feedback.
There's one more question where Mr. Krishna Kumar is asking, can mutual funds returns be negative?
Yes, so Mr. Krishna Kumar, so yes, see, when you are investing into mutual funds, it's not that you're, they are not guaranteeing you that, you'll be getting this much of returns. The reason being your money is being invested into the markets, and markets are volatile. Nobody will be able to guarantee a particular return. So based on the movements in the market, how your money is being invested, your returns can turn negative. But what I can say here is, when we say negative returns, if you, I've just shown in the presentation also the, how the Sensex has performed. So in the long term, if you're investing into the markets, either directly or through mutual fund route, in the long term, you will be able to, get, double-digit returns, 10, 12, 15% returns in the long term. So never invest into equity markets, for a time horizon of a month or a 2 month or a 6 months. Make sure that you're investing for a time horizon of at least 4 years or more. So if you're investing into the market for 4 years or more, you will be getting good returns. This is what we have seen in the past also. In short term, you might see there is volatility, one day your portfolio is up, the next day the portfolio is down. So you can see some time frames of seeing your portfolio in negative or maybe in positive. But in the long term, it pans out. So in the long term, you'll be able to see decent returns if you're investing through mutual funds. And this is the only asset class, equity mutual funds or equity asset class, wherein you will actually be able to beat inflation to create wealth for the long term. So it makes sense to do that. But having said that, make sure that you invest it as per your risk profile and create a proper asset allocation for yourself and diversify your money across asset classes. So additional question from Krishna Kumar only, is fixed deposit better than mutual funds for less than 4 years time? See, for less than 4 years time, what I would suggest is you can actually go for a balanced mutual fund wherein the exposure is not fully into equity, but equity and debt. Now this is for 3 to 4 years time. If you have 3 years, at least 3 to 4 years time, go for balanced mutual fund. Any investment that you need to do for a period less than 3 years, then go for this thing only, debt investments only, which includes your fixed deposit plus debt mutual funds. In that case, don't invest into equity mutual funds. So you're using the term mutual funds, but again, in mutual funds, there are different types. One is equity, one is debt, one is hybrid category, broadly, if I say. So based on this, you can actually, if it is for 0 to 3 years time frame, you have, go for debt, mutual funds or fixed deposit combination. 3 to 4 years, somewhere balance you can take exposure to. 4 years or more, go for equity mutual funds. I hope it is clear. Let me know if you have any follow-up question or anything further that you would like to ask on this.
Nidhi, there is one more question. So the participant is asking that the company doesn't have any policy related to ESIC or provident fund. So she's asking that what other alternatives she can do from her side to be prepared for investments, as a company is not offering any PPF or ESIC policy.
See, if the company is not, is not giving you a benefit of provident fund investment and all, I think there's nothing much you can do about it from at the company level. It is only thing that you can invest into other investment avenues. Now, a very similar investment, which is similar to a public provident fund is, a PF fund from the company is public provident fund. So you can actually invest your money into PPF. Which currently is offering a 7.1% return, tax free. So this is something which you can do. Again, as basically this is a way. I'm just comparing, PF investment here. So I cannot say that if you are not able to do PF investment with the company, so you invest into equity here. So comparing with the same level of investment in debt frame, the alternative for PF would be PPF for you, which you can invest from any bank or post office. You can make that investment. The maximum that you can invest into a PPF account is 1,50,000. It is also eligible for ATC deduction. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's one more question. Can debt mutual funds returns always be positive?
See, debt mutual funds, I would say majority of the times it will be positive only. But again, see, your debt mutual funds, they are open to interest rate risk. So when the interest rates, are going up, the price of the bonds goes down. So in very, very rare scenario, it can actually be negative on the debt mutual fund perspective. But I would say this is, very rare scenario, like I mentioned. So most of the times it is again not guaranteed. If you are trying to ask that part, similar to, because you had, I think, multiple questions on fixed deposit as well, like you were asking. So if I talk about fixed deposit, where the bank says that you will be getting 7% interest, which is guaranteed you will be getting, the same thing doesn't happen in debt mutual fund. So, but again, if I compare FD and debt mutual funds for long-term perspective, debt mutual funds has an added advantage of indexation benefit when it comes to taxation. So in fixed deposit, you will be paying a 30% tax if you are in a higher tax bracket. But in case if you're investing into a debt mutual fund, after 3 years, you'll be paying 20% tax, and that too after indexation benefit. So your taxation amount will be much, much lower compared to what you're paying in FD. So post-tax returns would be better in debt mutual funds for you.
I hope that was the last question. And again, if you have any question for our expert, you can just type it in the chat box or in the Q&A box. And even if something is not coming to you in your mind right now, we have the email ID given to you on this slide. You can just drop a mail and our expert will get back to you with your answer of your query.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm glad that you all liked the session as well. And we usually come up with, these kinds of sessions. So maybe, next week, next to next week also we'll be having certain sessions. So stay tuned with us. We are in this, mission to educate more and more investors and people to take control of, your finances. So get in touch with us and stay with us in these sessions, which will help you also to take better control on your finances. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Nawaz, for hosting.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. That was really insightful. And I believe it will help us to be really financially prepared not only in terms of times when we are getting laid off from our jobs, but any financial adversities that we may face in the coming time. And please do follow us on our social media platforms. We provide an update and post up-to-date curated content on daily market research, financial planning, and tax planning content. And I would just like to thank everyone to be participated in this webinar. And I would like to end this webinar on with a quote. So, since we are following a campaign which is winter is coming, so just something related to that. If you play the game of thrones, you will either win or die. But if you play the game of proper financial planning and money management, you will only win. So with that, thank you for joining and hope to see you all in the future. Have a great day ahead.